A shooting pain goes up Tomiko Yabuko's arm as she arises from a deep and utter slumber. Inside this chrysalis, she currently finds herself in the condescending water starting to drip onto her face. She touches the glass lens, noticing that her mechanical left arm isn't operating as it should. Perhaps the energy is running out, but all she knows is that the rebreather that's stuck to her face is utterly and absolutely malfunctioning. He needs to get out. She needs to get out right now. She doesn't understand why in the world the operators aren't helping her out of this situation. She is panicking, utterly fucking panicking. What do you do?
I'm gonna rip the mask off of my face and kick the glass door of the stasis pod open, leaving a big boot print on the side of it.
You go ahead and do so. You take a couple long breaths as you look around you. Where are the operators? Where are the nurses? Where's anybody? You look around, you don't see anybody. The other stasis pods that would house your other crewmates are currently empty, except for one of them. It seems splattered with a strange liquid substance on the glass.
What the fuck? Where is this? She says as she staggers up to her feet, stumbling as she's getting used to not being in stasis any longer. Her one good hand reaches over to the malfunctioning hand of her arm and grips it tightly in a way to alleviate the phantom pain that goes through the circuits. She approaches the full stasis pod. What does she see?
You approach the stasis pod that currently has the gunk in it, right?
Right.
You look into the stasis pod and you see the unfortunate remains of Jimmy. Actually, Jimmy was supposed to be your pilot, or at least your space to air vessel pilot. He was supposed to take the shuttle from deep space into more orbital space into an actual landing platform. It's a shame that she's. Well, you look at the vital signs next to the stasis pod. Jim's dead. Jim is absolutely dead. You remember this guy. You had pretzels and pizza and a short vodka session with him. You remember this guy very, very tenderly. It's a goddamn shame, especially because of how ignoble this death is. It's a fucking technical malfunction. You look at the stasis, it's a technical malfunction. He should be alive.
Oh, fuck. How did this happen? She pulls up the computer that had the vital signs on them. Is there a history on it? Is there any detail of his last living, suffering moments?
There is indeed a little bit of detailed record. It details much the same as your signs. The deep space freeze was initiated 6 months ago. About 5 months ago, there seems to be a little bit of a system malfunction. Within the last 2 weeks, there was a complete and utter failure. It seems as if Jimmy woke up quite briefly. He screamed. The computer recorded it. He had very, very few last words, mostly praying for his crew. And if they had made it, he asked and pleaded with the computer if they had made it, but those essential programs had been disconnected. For some reason, they had been disconnected. Where were we? Where did we go? Did we make it to the planet? You hear this transcript. You hear this recording. Did you make it to the world of gears? Did you make it?
She staggers forward some more. Where's this main computer that he was talking about? Does she remember? She wonders. She racks her brain for vague memories as she stumbles through the corridors of this metal prison.
You stumble and you find yourself in the medical bay of this particular prison. You remember that you were on the SS Starlight, actually, an exploration science vessel. This is the medical bay. People were supposed to wake up in the medical bay and start running through their different corridors to their different stations. There is a little bit of a terminal there that holds all the medical bay schematics and such. There's also the corridor that leads more to the command module and to the living quarters, but currently the main terminal of the medical bay is flashing red and yellow and black. Multiple system failures all over.
Is there anything in this medical bay that can be used to repair my arm?
Yes, actually, you remember Nurse Joyce. Actually, she was supposed to be the medical technician that was supposed to make sure that your mechanical arm worked right. You were explicitly being detailed all the operations of what this arm can do, but it's cloudy right now. Basically, when you look at your arm, you look down it, it's twitching. It's not operating as it should be. It's not reliable. But there seems to be a terminal as well as a station to go ahead and slip your arm in to try to reset the circuits, resets the program.
Oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck. Okay, here goes nothing, she says as she rushes over, sticks her arm in the medical bay's in a little receiver, boots up the computer.
You boot up the computer, and there are several programs that are initiated. Those are resetting the functional implants, initiating the more advanced options of the arm, and the other one, which is just simply shut down the entire arm. It's usually a more maintenance thing to shut down the arm and remove it, but every time, you remember a few times. You remember a few times when you just got used to the arm. Taking it off was like the most gut-wrenching thing possible for you. You felt empty. That phantom pain just got worse when you didn't have a physical arm there to sort of just mess with. This arm has become as much part of you as any heart, any lung transplant you've had, any digestive system. It's you. It's you. You've gone identity with it now.
So the three options: remove the arm, repair the arm, and the other one?
Unlock advanced options.
And unlock the advanced options.
All right, you go ahead and do so. Some of the advanced options includes an Omni tool actually, as well as a Ethernet jack point, which would allow you to communicate and interface with all the ship's functions. It
I'll
takes a
take the
while.
interface.
Say again?
I'll go with the interface if I have to choose one.
Okay. You choose the interface option and you feel that phantom pain go ahead and triple and double as you feel the nub that would be your shoulder go ahead and light up with fucking electricity that travels from the nub of your arm towards the back of your shoulder blades all the way up through your spine to the back of your lizard brain. It actually hurts a lot. This is not supposed to happen. This is not supposed to happen at all. Something is wrong.
Okay, can I open the thing up myself?
What will you try to open?
What does the arm look like?
The arm is it's been molded with the special liquid polymers to make it look like skin and actually simulate some hair growth when you don't really go ahead and shave it. It should look like an ordinary arm, but it's got the plating actually in crucial joints to allow better, smoother movement.
All right. Medical bay, right? Scalpels?
Of course.
Right. I'm going to lunge over to one of the medical bay, basically jumping over towards it and crashing my whole body up against it in order to support myself through this body-racking pain. I'm going to dig through the nurse's supplies and grab a scalpel. She will slowly raise a hand up, raise that mechanical hand up, and as it twitches, press the scalpel right at where you normally get injections and just slice down to reveal the metal underneath.
You do so. Not only do you do so, you go ahead and find the hidden latch, actually, that goes ahead and pops up. You are Now confronted with the fact that your arm is obviously artificial, there is circuits, there are wires just all over it. They're starting to, partly spill out now that their containment is kind of wonky.
Right, I look inside. Is there anything obviously wrong with it?
There is one thing obviously wrong with it. You notice that some of the silicone and copper wiring has gone ahead and started to entwine with itself. It's creating a feedback loop that would obviously cause a lot of electrical discharge.
All right. How difficult does this not look to untangle?
You, my good lady, have been operating with the silicone and quantum mechanics of this ship since it was first incepted within that shipyard, within Terra's shipyard. You were there fundamentally to build up this ship, and this arm was just an outcropping of that technology. You know that. You know the problem right away. You could probably do it with a scalpel if you're clever enough.
All right. First, going to feel around on it for some weaker, looser parts, just using my fingers first.
Mm-hmm.
Try to find something that I can slip the scalpel under without slicing any of the wires.
Okay, you do so. You find as such.
All right. Do very carefully slip the handle part with a scalpel underneath it to get a bit of leverage. Gonna
Continue.
pull it first.
You do so.
Okay. Does the knot look any better?
The knot actually goes ahead and untwines itself as you now have this bit of circuitry, this chip just lying out there. You got the feeling that that solved the problem, but now you got an issue of this loose chip that's sort of hanging out of your prosthetic mechanical arm.
I very carefully use one finger to bring the chip up to my face. What does it look like? Do I recognize its function?
You recognize its function. Apparently, this was and you're searching for it. You're searching for the idea. Oh, yeah, right. This was the circuit to give people the middle finger.
Oh man, this is like the most important circuit in the entire arm. I started looking around for loose wires, loose bits of soldering, somewhere to indicate where it was supposed to go.
You go ahead and find it. Next to you, where you find the scalpel, you find another drawer that's specifically made for all the biomechanical devices that run through here. In there, you find a bit of soldering tools. In there, you find a bit of wire, stuff to repair this arm you currently have.
All right. In the most logical, the way that matches most what I know about this technology and what I see in front of me, I'm going to start reinstalling this chip.
You reinstall the chip. You reinstall the chip. It's like a flash. It's like you've been doing this a million times before. You remember Nurse Joy actually teaching you these steps once or twice. A little bit of ping goes through you. Not the electrical pain, none of the physical electrical pain, but one of kind of fear, kind of dread. You're able to repair the arm. You're able to reclose the makeshift wound you made on it, but there's still that dread. There's still that fear. It's very, very quiet in the medical bay. And the corridor is also equally as quiet. Are you alone?
Stand up, holding the scalpel very tightly and slowly turning around to face the door that I came from.
Okay. Doesn't seem to be much there. It seems to be open, which is weird. It should be closed. It's open. Beyond the threshold of the door, it seems dark. There are emergency lights on, but nothing else.
Medical bay, let's see. there anything that can create smoke, like cigarettes or something that I can light on fire? Maybe even papers to give me some sort of possibly see something that's not there.
Blink, blink. You're looking for the illumination rods?
Oh, right, of course, the illumination rods.
Go through a few of the drawers, none of which have it until you find the illumination rod. This one comes in green, another one comes in red. Those are you find. These are, for our purposes, glow sticks.
All right. I'll take both of them, but the first one I'll keep wave around as the green one.
All right. Would you like to adventure further in the corridor into other aspects of the ship?
Yeah. Let's go
Okay.
back to main control.
All right. You walk into the corridors of the ship. You hear a rocking, creaking sound. You know the ship wasn't all that big. It was a vessel designed to carry about 10 to 15 people. She came in with a skeleton staff. You remember the first few weeks of the voyage before the deep sleep, it was always kind of creepy to walk these very, very empty corridors. It's too long, too much creaking, too much extra noise coming from the ventilations, the shafts, the turbo tubes. It's always very, very unsettling to hear noises that were normal but unexplainable at the moment. You go ahead and make your way. You go ahead and make your way to the command module. The command module is very cramped, actually. The command module is set up with two chairs, a plethora of different instruments, lots of different visual cues, some view screens, some different technical manuals. You know that Jimmy was supposed to sit there, and Nurse Joyce was supposed to sit there, and you were supposed to get strapped in the back. You were non-essential personnel. Well, at least non-essential to piloting the ship. You ought to have been here when they were deep space traveling, because usually they would go ahead and decompress all the other chambers. You quite happily remember a lot of different silly conversations with Joyce and Jimmy through the first 2 weeks of your voyage, but the lack of their presence is kind of unsettling. One of the view screens currently has the main computer up, and the main computer is currently going through its main loop, accepting input from anything.
Now approach the main computer. What all is giving it input right now?
Okay. It has the command line input for users to go ahead and enter. It seems to be monitoring a lot of the ship's different systems. Medical bay seems to have a lot of activity. The living spaces seem to have some activity. The engines are currently inaccessible for one reason or another. And, well, there's always the view from outside. There's that button that just sort of hangs there. It's a button that somebody has accessed one or a few different times recently.
All right. First, I'm going to type in the command line. I want to see all connected devices on this ship.
Go ahead and blast that. You see all connected devices on the ship. You see the visual screens attached here to the medical bay, to the engine room, towards some of the more public living spaces. You're now connected to the camera system. You're also connected to, well, I shouldn't say you're connected to the engines, because for some reason it's just completely and utterly gone. Every time you try to access the engine systems, you come up with a 404 invalid or 404 invalid location. You go ahead and look at the maneuvering charts as well. They seem to be somewhat functional, but without an actual driving engine, it's kind of useless. You look at a lot of the turbo tunnels, actually. The terminal terminals you would know as just simply maintenance hats. It's what crewmen would use if main corridors were decompressed.
Okay. I want to look up a map of those maintenance corridors, and I want to look up a map of all the ventilation.
Okay, you do so. 2 images are overlaid. One of which is the complete and utter detailed map. The other one is the verified map. Those places are actually being touched with. You notice that the engine room is completely and utterly not on the available map.
Right. Are all the doors hooked up to this system as well?
Of course.
I want the times of the last opening of each and every door on the ship.
Okay. You notice a lot of activity during the first 2 weeks of this particular voyage. Then the D-sleep goes ahead and happens. Nobody makes any sort of movements. All the doors are completely shut. Everything is decompressed except for essential systems. And then about 2 weeks, there is a lot of activity. First from the medical bay, then to the command module, then to invalid systems that you can probably assume were the engine room, and then towards the living room. And, well, this is one system you really haven't encountered, or at least weren't thinking about. Those to the hull, those two outside the ship, they were opened. They were opened not but 12 hours ago.
Right. Going to do as I can to memorize this information, these maps and these door openings to see where possible intruders might be. Then I'm going to head to the engine room.
Okay. Again, you walk through that eerily dark corridor towards the threshold, towards the bulkhead of the engine room. You find yourself at the bulkhead of the engine room. You go ahead and press the switch to go ahead and open it. The doors go ahead and slowly slide open, and you see sunlight start to spill out from the cracks as the bulkhead goes ahead and opens. It opens further and further, and you see the corridor on the other side completely and utterly detached from your own system as a star, not soul, not Terra's soul, but a star goes ahead and starts to sting you in the face a little bit. You instinctively go ahead and throw up your arms because your eyes are kind of screwed right now. In fact, you're completely and utterly blind for a few seconds as the landscape goes ahead and starts to fill out before you. You're not in Kansas anymore.
It's actually on a planet.
It seems to have breathable atmosphere. In fact, you briefly panic because you don't think you're going to be able to breathe.
Take a look in the ship. I check and see, assuming there's like a mini fridge in the main room, I can grab some quick rations, a bottle of water, or a canteen, something similar before heading out.
You go back to the living quarters. You go through your crewmates' supply rations. You pick up a few different rations, water, food, several of their emergency kits, first aid kits, whatever have you. You pack them into a duffel bag, and you go ahead and start to walk past the threshold of the comfortable ship that you have been sleeping in for more than 8 months. You step out onto not terra firma, but something else, something weird. The scene that is before you, the landscape that is before you is alien, but not alien as in organic, alien as in the ground you're walking on. Clink, 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 metal. The view in front of you, also completely metal, mechanical. Everything around is just another shade of a technology that's completely and utterly alien to you. You find yourself in this landscape, I say. You look off into the distance. There's an outcropping there, a weird outcropping. You would assume it was kind of some kind of buds or stalks that just sort of grew out of the landscape. You look behind you, and there is a flat expanse. It looks liquid. Maybe it's an ocean, but it's an ocean of inky blackness that creates a sheen, a bright sheen that blinds you as well. You look at the, well, this is a crash site. You're starting to realize that this is a crash site. You look at your ship. It's been broken in two. The engine is on one side. The rest of the compartment's on the other side. You're marooned.
Definitely want to fix that ship. I'm gonna go towards the stalks, towards the plant-like mechanical matter, and examine it.
All right. You start to walk towards the stalks. The stalks happen to be a few miles away, and you walk past a field. In this field, you see these reeds, these tall grass, actually, that seem to reflect with the sunlight. And you go ahead and slap your head. Why am I not using the goggles right now? This is what they're meant to be used for, to examine new things and new technology and new plant life. Where the hell are my scanners? They're in your backpack.
Reach into the backpack. Make sure that I still have the green glow stick. Switch it off for now to conserve some battery.
Mm-hmm.
Pull out the goggles.
You go ahead and pop the goggles on, and, well, you knew this was, god damn it. You go ahead and kick yourself. You picked your goggles. You knew that your goggles were cracked. You know there was that lightning scar in the middle of it. Go ahead and you're just frustrated because you were supposed to fix this a while ago before you even set up, and you were thinking to yourself, it was a really, really, really smart. I would have picked up Jimmy's or Joyce's, but for some reason, these goggles, the ones with the crack in it, you're always destined to have. You can't throw these goddamn things away.
Sort of smile a little bit, run my finger over the crack. Switch them on.
Go ahead
Do
and
they
switch them
function?
on. Of course they function. They may be cracked, but they've always functioned for you. It's the one little comfort that you're currently taking from this entire situation, that no matter what you do, you're stuck with these glasses, no matter what they're doing. You go switch them on. You go through different thermals, different lights, different visions. You notice that you're going to go ahead and switch them around a little bit towards maybe one of the forces site. You're looking at the sun. You're looking at the rays that pound down on this prairie, and you're starting to realize that a reaction is occurring to each one of these stalks. They're collecting. They're collecting energy. They're moving that energy. They're taking it within themselves. They're throwing it into the ground, and they're sending it somewhere. You follow the train of energy, and they seem to be sending them towards those gigantic stalks that, as you get closer, you realize are towering towers.
Look around. This looks like some sort of city, like somewhere something might inhabit.
Strange thought. Maybe. Maybe. Who would live in this city? You look around. Let me ask you this. What sites do you use? What are you most curious about? You're standing in this field.
Sites. Prime. What has happened and what will happen. And Prime, the core energy of all of creation in its simplest matter.
The energy of every creation, the energy of Well, some would say magic. You would know it as the primal energy, that from which all mechanics, all quantum physics go ahead and take place in. You go ahead and switch over to time just for a brief second. Time seems to be stable here. You've seen some anomalies where time went ahead and skipped faster or forward, but that was usually in gigantic gravity wells. Thank goodness it's only a theoretical standpoint at the moment. But when you switch over to the primal element, that quantum energy, you see that it flows from the sun into the reeds through underground circuits. You can only go ahead and assume through the giant underground something, giant underground conduits towards the towering towers of just mechanical mayhem. And another thing you pick up free flowing energy. No, that's stupid. No, you don't pick up free flowing energy. You pick up energy batteries. You pick up things, vessels, devices that are independently using their energy for some reason, and they seem to be flying between the few towers. And you start to, switch your sights to binocular vision. You get a closer look at some of these, energy figures, and you don't like what you see. You see mechanical wings. You see mechanical wings lifting itself up, propelling itself around those few towers. They seem to be, I'm not going to say malignant. I'm not going to say hostile, just territorial.
Did I remember to bring a cloaking device?
Of course, you remember to bring a cloaking device. Jimmy would never, ever, ever, ever let you out of his sight without one. Another pang of just, well, Jimmy was a good sod. Jimmy was sometimes a jackass, but he always looked out for you and Joyce. But yeah, you have the cloaking device in your back pocket. You take it out. It's the size of an egg. You can go ahead and press that cloaking device. You're essentially invincible.
Hold it tightly, looking up, looking towards the place where these giant things live. That I'm going to find out what's going on here. I'm going to bring that information back so that Jimmy's fate doesn't happen again. Approach very slowly,
Okay.
looking for places with cover, even if I'm cloaked.
Smart girl, smart girl. You start to approach what we can only call a cityscape, which you would understand as a Terra city. Hold on. You go ahead and start to approach the city. Most of the streets are bare. It has that same weird mechanical terrain, the same weird metal sheeting. In fact, with the sun beating down on it, you're sweating. You're absolutely profusely sweating. It's kind of icky, kind of disgusting, but you got other things to think about. Your mechanical arm is starting to twitch a little bit, as if some of the cooling systems aren't behaving as it ought to.
I brought a canteen of water. Is this technology waterproof?
The outside is, yes. You also brought a bit of duct tape that you might want to use to cover the cut you made.
Do that. Fashion a makeshift bandage out of the duct tape, wrap it a few times to make sure that the seal is strong, and start just a little bit of the water on the surface of it to cool it down a bit.
Okay. That seems to help a little bit, but you realize very, very quickly that you need to get out of the sun. You need to get out the sun right away. And as you're thinking about that, you notice that there's a few different enclaves. A few different enclaves within these towering structures that shield you away from the sun, but also lead somewhere else. You can assume downwards.
Is there anything else that might catch my eye in this city besides these flying things?
Oh, yes, actually. You know, these are these flying things, of course. But there are also things that are sort of just stomping on the ground. Just sort of marching very, very casually. This monstrous abomination, the mechanical arms, these pistons. And always with that very, very smiling face, that jaw with like 1,000 different teeth, just all biting at the chip. They seem to be on their own patrols.
The time I have, can I tell if there's a pattern to these patrols?
Are you going to stick around long enough?
How critical is the arm?
Your arm is, well, you have an intuitive understanding of the arm. You heard Nurse Joyce go ahead and drill you again and again and again. If you ever feel that the arm is malfunctioning, all you have to say is status, arm, 9 or 9 or 6.
Bring my wrist up to my mouth. Take a few steps away from the city, away from these things, and crouch down, facing away from them, and whisper it.
Go ahead and whisper it, and you feel it in your brain. The information is flowing from the arm into you. You go ahead and say the status and the code word, and you get a brief rundown of its systems. Currently, its cooling system is not all that well. Its energy system is fantastic. It's functioning all right. The Omni hack is performing fantastically. The Omni tool was disabled due to maintenance. There are currently several different breaches, some of which you would understand as being from your own fiddling with it.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a camera of any sort?
Your camera would be in your goggles, actually.
Zoom it in on each of these types of mechanical things. Snap some quick pictures to save in my memory. And head downwards.
Okay. You go ahead and whisk your way away from the blistering heat of the sun reflected on the metal into the, well, it's a different kind of heat. You go ahead and whisk your way through the threshold into a dark and damp, as well as moist, as well as very, very warm tunnel and seems to lead from the threshold and spiral downwards as far as you can tell. You're starting to sweat, but this time it's a moist. It's very, very well, you're completely utterly drenched in sweat at the moment. But when you walk inside, the arm seems to react better. It seems to function much, much better. This is not the dry heat that would fry out circuits. This is a warm and dank heat that the arm is designed to take.
All right. Goggles, I'm going to scan this place again, just about every setting that I can find on them.
Okay. Go ahead and start to look around. This is what you get. you see a gradual, very, very gradual pull of this quantum energy get pulled down into the core of whatever environment you're currently in. You see a few quantum energy streams that flow upwards into the quantum batteries that are currently flying around and stalking the streets. But more often than not, the stream travels downward, and when you look around, you notice that there's a kiosk actually. It's it looks like a kiosk. It looks like it's got an input console. It looks like it's got a console and a port for your Omni jack.
Oh, fuck. I'm gonna start with the console. What does it say on it right now?
Do. If you look at the console, you're trying to puzzle it out. Damn. You look at it. You look at it. You look at it. You look at it. Damn. It's got characters you don't really understand. You can understand it in the vaguest sense of the word, but you had this theory a long, long time ago. Well, you and Joyce, you talked at length about this idea. The idea that if you could go ahead and program the arm with a very, very simple translation device, that you'd be able to translate any language better than the universal translators that are on most ships.
Hmm. Did I ever actually do that? Or do I have to do it on the fly?
You didn't actually do it. You'd have to do it on the fly, but you remember Nurse Joyce. You remember her very, very well. She was a very comforting voice. You remember that she was one of your instructors in the academy. You remember that she would always cheerlead for you. You remember her being so fucking proud when you graduated the Space Academy. Where is she now? Where is she right now? But yes, you could do it. You could do it with a few of the instruments you currently have in your survival kit.
Alright. Gonna look further down the hallway. Activate the zoom on the goggles.
You look further
Right.
down the hallway. You go ahead and activate the zoom function. You see a few bulkheads that you could open. It has a few quote unquote handles in the middle of the bulkheads that you could manipulate.
Alright. But I don't see anything approaching. Do I hear anything?
The most that you hear is from outside, from above ground. You hear the patrols of the thing that is currently on my screen going.
Right. I'm gonna cuddle up close to that computer, sort of crouch down and make myself as small as possible. Make sure the cloaking device is still working.
Mm-hmm.
Start working on my arm.
Go ahead and work on your arm. You know that this is going to take maybe an hour. You know it's going to go ahead and involve you cutting into yourself. You know that it's going to involve you digging pieces out of yourself and replacing them. You know it's going to take a while. You know it's going to be painful. Are you sure you want to go through with this?
Gotta know what's going on here.
With a certain
Gonna
amount
do
of
it.
resolve, okay. With a certain amount of resolve, you go ahead and dig into your own skin. That that flinches. You know it's designed to flinch. You know it's designed to flinch. You know it's designed to simulate pain, so that you don't go ahead and crush yourself or anything like that. You know it's designed like that, but it doesn't stop it from being a fucking annoying hassle. You dig into yourself. You switch around a few different circuits. You switch around a few different chips. You go ahead and manipulate the OmniJack to go ahead and be a universal translator as well. And do you jack yourself in?
I do.
Very well then. You jack yourself into the console, and when you do so, the panel goes ahead and flips open, and you are face to face with this thing. This animal that is completely and utterly out of place with all the mechanical what's its and who's its. This You're starting to learn more biomechanical structures. It seems like a cat that just goes ahead and looks at you completely wide-eyed, as if its own eyelids were stuck like that. It goes ahead and stares at you, and through the jack, through the arm, into your own brain. It doesn't speak verbally. It just goes ahead and communicates user input.
Admin.
Password.
Do I have any hacking skills?
The Academy doesn't teach hacking skills, but you were always a girl that pursued extracurricular activities. You do have some rudimentary hacking skills.
All right. I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to try to crack this thing.
You try to crack this thing, and two different things are currently going on at the same time. You are accessing the security protocols that would give your account more permission and more access. And while you're doing that, there is just simply a purr that goes through your system, through your arms to your brain, as this cat is just sort of looking at you.
Sort of avoiding eye contact with this cat exactly. Still pushing forward, trying to find a hole in this system I can exploit.
Okay. You're able to find a point of intrusion. You have to give yourself super user and then super user access. But you do it. You're able to give yourself a few different permissions, not root access, but at least privilege. The system is currently open to you. When you go ahead and do a quick directory listing, you find yourself looking at this city. You find yourself looking at the boughs below. You find yourself looking at the nest above. And you find yourself looking at energy transitions.
Let's see what these
Also,
energy transitions are about.
okay, you can go ahead and look into it. And also you get a few different directives. Thou shalt patrol, thou shalt fly, thou shalt gather energy, thou shalt recycle, thou shalt always recycle, thou shalt always repurpose, thou shalt not innovate.
These lines editable at all?
Nope, they come directly from root access. There's also a meow that goes through your system.
Fucking cat. All right. Is there some sort of map here? Map of the place down towards root access?
Yes, actually. There is a very detailed map that pinpoints where you are right now, goes through a spiral staircase. You notice that the energy transfers, where they're going to. You have very limited control over them. You're able to access the energy flows going upward whether or not to limit them or shut them off entirely. But there's no way in hell you're ever getting the access or the permissions to shut down energy transfer going straight into the core. It's starting to say that this is the fucking core. Thou shall not enter the core.
Can I get a patrol schedule of these creatures?
Yes, easy enough. You got it.
And seeing as they're mostly mechanical, is there any sort of diagrams of their biology, perhaps mapping abilities, weaknesses, what they are, what they're for?
You go ahead and the cat goes ahead and chimes in again. It meows, it purrs, and when it does so, it goes ahead and throws up a history log, actually, design schematics of these things. They are what the civilization called gatherers, reapers, mechanical biomechanics, biomechanical units 3-aught 600, 3-aught 200, and so on and so on and so forth. The cat goes ahead and meows again through the system into your head and goes ahead and starts to detail a few different scullery articles about these creatures, how these creatures are designed to maintain the system, to maintain what the civilization called, or what the article writer called, stagnant evolution, to always maintain the system as it is, to go ahead and deny, track down, destroy aberrant energy signatures, which the cat goes ahead and meows, it was.
The cat was?
Yes. The cat looks at you. Its eyelids go ahead and move at you.
Is there any record of failed models of obsolete ones, or perhaps of these quote unquote deviants, perhaps?
Yes, actually, there's an entire yard within the city that is full to the brim of these aberrant designs. Designs that did not fit into society's model, into the model that was required for stagnant evolution.
Are these accessible by any means?
Yes, there are a few tunnels that lead from your position into the junkyard.
Okay. Going to I'm gonna scratch the cat behind one of its ears, then I'm gonna unplug.
You feel a sense of gratitude and affection that has not been seen in a millennia.
Aww.
The panel goes ahead and flies up. The cat is now safely behind several inches of cold, unfeeling metal to sleep forevermore. Where do you go to now?
I'm gonna head towards that park.
All right. You go ahead and walk towards the dank and the hot and the steaming corridors. You remember a conversation between Jimmy and Joyce about what it would feel like to walk inside a gigantic human being, such like that ancient classic sci-fi adventure, The Amazing Voyage, wherein a crew was inserted into a body, the president's body, to go ahead and fix it, and how weird and how awesome it would be to walk around a living being. They talked about how moist and how hot it would be inside such a thing. You're starting to get lots of different flashbacks about that particular conversation. But in any case, you find yourself walking through the corridors. You find yourself nearing the tunnel's entrance, nearing the tunnel's threshold, towards where you can see a park completely and utterly filled with wreckage. That is the only way you can really describe it. Complete and utter wreckage. These are mechanical structures, mechanical vessels that have been ripped apart, torn to fucking pieces. And you remember from the articles that you read that these were rejections. These were absolutely utter trash, designed to be thrown into the great mall of destruction, never to be used from again.
I'm gonna walk around. I'm gonna look at them through the sights of the goggles, the sight of creation energy, and the sight of time to see what they used to be before they were scrapped.
Okay. Go ahead and look around. One of them seems to be, well, you look at one of them, seems to draw your attention more than the others. This was a wreckage that was taken apart because it did not fit any other structure as well as it should have, because it had different parts, because the designer was insane, was mad, was crazed, used theories and theorems that did not match the consensus at the time. And when you look through the primal energy, when you look through just the energy of all things, you realize that this thing still has an engine attached to it. It's just that several different parts and pieces have been ripped apart. You imagine that there was a conflict, there was a fight between the beings up above and this thing right here. And you're currently staring at the death mask of this thing with two eyes that are very, very dim.
So, does its engine appear repairable, or does anything else in here seem to have an engine?
The engine does seem repairable.
I'm gonna open it up and look at the engine and tinker around a bit.
What are you trying to do? What effect are you trying to do?
I'm trying to turn this thing back on, trying to wake it up.
You open it up. For some strange reason, you've heard about this phenomenon before. This sense of deja vu, this sense of traveler's sickness. The idea that sometimes travelers will go ahead and have their memories messed with simply because of the alien environment they surround themselves with. But you look at this, and your brain is starting to rewire itself to to integrate this new memory of of a generator within a power plant somewhere in a city on Terra that wasn't called Terra but Earth. It's a very strange memory, but it holds in your brain very, very briefly.
Power plant. So it needs a new energy source.
Not necessarily that, it needs to be primed. Words that go through your brain from a familiar and unfamiliar voice, an unfamiliar male voice that simply says, I want you to go ahead and take what's inside of you, make it real, and force this thing to work.
Is there a way to disconnect the arm right now?
You could do it. The safest way is to go back to the ship and disconnect it via that terminal. There is also a way of simply taking the arm and ripping it off. But you know for a fact that if you did, the arm would remain functional, but you would be ripping apart a part of yourself. You'd be ripping apart a part of yourself. And if you plan to do what I think you're doing, you would essentially give a part of yourself, a piece of yourself, to this dead thing, to prime it up, to give it a bit of your own energy to make it alive again. The question is, will you?
Well, never been known to do things the safe way anyway. So yeah.
Describe how you rip apart your own arm and install the energy battery into this dead thing.
All right. It's going to roll up my sleeve and find the area where it connects, where the metal pops into the shoulder joint, and I assume the support structure that keeps it from ripping out during normal activity.
Mm-hmm.
A scalpel. I'm going to start slicing away the bits of skin that hold it to my body.
Continue. You're in immense pain right now. Continue.
Stop, only briefly, to reach into the backpack. Grab something to bite down on, probably just the cloth or Kevlar, whatever that material is called, handle of the canteen that I had brought. Bite down on it to keep from screaming and drawing attention. And once it's been very carefully severed from its support structures so that it's hanging limp on a ball joint, that is the last part connected to me, the last part that is very firmly wedged in the bone with tendons all around it, I'm going to grab it by the wrist. I'm going to yank it.
Imagine, well, let's just go ahead and say, imagine a bowling ball going ahead and being thrown at you, connecting with that very, very sensitive joint, the ball joint of your shoulder. That is the kind of pain that you feel, and you scream and you yell out. There's no way to really stop that.
For a moment, she collapses down on her stomach and on top of the hot metal. And as the feeling of the immense heat against her face, it's the only thing keeping her conscious through this amount of pain, is going to crawl pathetically back towards the engine of this creature, hoist herself up, lean against it, legs shaking. She puts the arm in it, begins connecting it.
You begin connecting it with your good arm. It's a little bit awkward, but you've adapted your technique to do this one arm. You go ahead and connect the battery of your own arm into this creature, and it starts to jumble into life. It starts to breathe a black smoke. Starts to rev itself up. All the different mechanics, all the different gears, all the different pistons go ahead and start to fucking spark into goddamn life. It's alive and it screams. It screams, yeah! Oh, the value of things glitter on me. All values have already been created. And all created values I do represent. Goonch, goonch, goonch. It starts to step, to stomp its way through this trash. Its wings go ahead and brush aside certain things, spilling it onto the concrete and the metal. Verily I say, there shall be, I will no more. Thus speaketh me, the dragon!
I'm going to follow the dragon. Does it notice me?
It notices you. In fact, that's one of the first things it does notice. It goes ahead and brushes aside the trash and debris, the things that are obviously destroyed, the things that are obviously fucking failures. Failures to the grand model. Failures to the Grand Dragon's model. And it goes ahead and looks at you. Two very, very bright eyes. Thou shalt not.
Shall not what?
Thou shalt not innovate. Thou shalt not create. This world has been created. It has been created long ago to sustain itself. This oil, this blood, this engine, all the energy of this world is maintained stagnant forever.
Except for you.
Looks at you very, very quizzically, goes ahead and wrenches his jaw. The breath is smoky. The breath is oily. The breath is icky. Explain!
Inside of you is technology not of this world.
You are currently on the ground. You're currently in immense pain. You're physically all right. The systems that are attached to your brain, the system that is attached to your nerve settings, they will go ahead and compensate for the immense pain that you're going through. It's designed to have these kind of fail safes. Currently, you're on the ground. You're losing not much. You're not using any blood because you're losing a minimal amount of blood. There's a lot of bandaging to be done. You're without a left arm totally and utterly. It goes ahead and looks at you. Your form is broken. Your form is damaged. Your form is imperfect. I know this. What right have you to come into my form?
So without me, you would be garbage.
If I were garbage, I'd be sent down below to be recycled, to have my parts and my components recycled, decomposed, and made into greater figures. At this moment, there are several other figures that are starting to circle around. They're very, very hesitant to engage. In fact, you look at a few of the different biomechanical dragons that seem to be slowly giving you a wide breath. And some of the other stompers are trying to notice the situation, but they're not advancing. They seem to all have a very, very instinctual fear of this great dragon before you.
Stagger up onto my knees to look back up at it. Look all around you. This is a field of garbage. I pulled you out of it.
And you think this entitles you? You think this entitles you to come into my form on my purpose?
It's not just your form anymore.
He goes ahead and gives you quite a roar that is mixed with humor, mixed with hilarity. It seems to be thrashing about in your brain, in your arm, which is still connected to you via some means. You remember Jimmy and Joyce talking about a Wi-Fi connection that could be activated on whim, so if you so choose. It was a little bit of a project that you and them worked on, and through that you hear a meow, a purr, a just a very, very small voice that simply says, if you could control it, do it now. Give it a purpose. Right now, its only purpose is to be sustained, to live. Give it a purpose far beyond just simply existing, this stagnant evolution.
We will innovate. Say, looking up at it.
What force do you bring to bear within this suggestion? Because not only are you speaking physically with it, you're also linked with it, linked with your arm inside this huge dragon. What are you impressing upon it? What directives do you absolutely demand that it follow?
I flood the dragon with memories of humanity, the memories of the race that I come from, who continued to innovate and create until we could bring ourselves far beyond where we were ever intended to go, above or below. Anywhere, everywhere was our domain. Now this is our domain as well.
Goes ahead and screams. It goes ahead and thrashes about. It comes increasingly closer to you, to slam on you, to go ahead and say, no, stop! This is damning! This is innovation! Thou shalt not! But thou shall, thou will, as it is being overridden, as you could feel yourself taking completely and utter control of it. You see that it goes ahead and start to thrash about. One of the flyers goes ahead and gets dangerously fucking close as this grand dragon, this cold-plated, gold-plated, shimmering dragon goes ahead and roars, blast it with a gigantic ball of primordial energy. It snaps its fucking neck, grabs it, tears apart its fucking wings, brings it down to the ground, and screams, I will evolve!
Sit down for a moment and look at the dragon.
The dragon goes ahead and very, very systematically takes each and every single one of the flyers on one by one. They are no match for this grand dragon that you have gone ahead and mastered. And when they have failed, the stompers go ahead and try to match them and are unable to do so. In your brain, your mind, you're just completely and utterly exhausted. The time is coming where the sun goes ahead and sets. Not the sun, not Sol, not Terra. You are far beyond them. You're exhausted completely and utterly, as the only moving thing, the only moving energy signature happens to be the grand dragon you have gone ahead and mastered. But still, there are questions. What questions do you have?
Was this world always like this?
You hear a purr. No. You hear another purr. At one time, the creatures of this world were living, organic, the same as you. Well, what you were before the operation, and then they became what you were, what you are now, mechanical living. And then at some point, they went ahead and changed themselves so radically that the organic systems and mechanical systems were completely and utterly interchangeable. And at that time, there was a need to live. There was a need to survive, to maintain their own life. They forgot what it was to innovate. They only strove to survive. Again, all in these purrs, all in these very, very simple, very, very hushed voice that you know comes from a cat. It's currently stuck in the terminal. that has been there for more than a millennia, as it goes ahead and starts to flood you with its own memories, with being a kitten in a very, very dark alley, living through that, being quote unquote reassigned to a information terminal because it had the brain capacity to handle very, very simple transactions. You feel the loneliness that it felt for the millennia before it went ahead and faced you, and you feel the utter gratitude that you went ahead and touched it and scratched it behind the ear.
I gave the dragon will. Can I give these other things will? The will to change, to become mutable again?
The cat goes ahead and meows a little bit. There is one place that you could go that would affect the entire planet. You have given the dragon will. You have given the dragon an amount of will that it feels beholden to go ahead and give you a service. You must decide whether or not you are to take this dragon, which is capable of taking you away from this place, towards the heavens, or if there are still other mysteries you want to pursue. There is the core of the planet where decisions were made, where stagnant evolution was made a commandment throughout the entire system. If you want to give all of these creatures will, small, mechanical, organic, you would go there. However, if you wanted to escape this place, all you have to do is command the dragon to whisk you away.
Get the dragon. Come with me. As I head back towards the corridor where I first met the cat.
Okay, it goes ahead and does so. As you go ahead and duck into the corridor, the dragon's going to go ahead and duck its very, very long head in, go ahead and grab the roof, and go ahead and just simply lift it up and throw it aside to let the midnight air go ahead and blow on through. It's rather cool at the moment, and you can go ahead and find yourself back at the terminal of the cat.
Plug back in and open it up. Is there a way to get the cat out?
You look at the physical structure of the cat. The cat is a skull. The cat is a head and nothing more. It is a head that is sustained by biomechanical operations, but it's simply a head. If you wish to take the head, then you would have to provide a biomechanical battery. Perhaps the dragon has one.
My arm.
Your arm is too deep inside the dragon. It is currently fueling that, and it would not help the cat. What the cat needs is a specific capsule.
Look to the dragon. Can you find something for this cat to live in?
The dragon goes ahead, looks at you, extends one of its arms, rips apart one of the bulkheads that was leading further down into the corridor, and inside you see all manner of just weird fucking technology of pods, really very, very small pods that you go ahead and carry in your backpack. From what you could tell, they're filled with amino acids, proteins, a little bit of small of an energy boost. It's very weird, and it's got all these veins and shit in it. You're starting to get grossed out.
Walk inside and I'd probably pinch my nose because I bet it is stanky in there. And start ripping these things apart. I want to start putting them together to perhaps build a cat. Not a body like the one it was like, but something more efficient, something better, like 8 legs with hooks for grabbing and a pair of hands. Like a spider cat.
You want to make a spider cat?
Damn right I want to make a spider cat.
You know what? That's fucking awesome. Yeah, you create a chassis of spindly fucking legs. You go ahead and attach the goddamn fucking spindle capsule to the back of it, so it can actually fucking create webs, because that's fucking awesome. And you go ahead and leave the command and the head module completely open and clear, so that if you wanted to, you could detach the cat and put it into this, put it on that chassis. Excuse me.
That is exactly what I'm going to do. Say, this'll hurt, but you'll be free afterwards. To the cat as I begin to disconnect it.
It screams, it whines, it looks at you. Why?
And the second that it's completely disconnected, start hooking it back up to the spider capsule.
You hook it up to
Get
the.
it head in the acids and stuff.
All right. You go ahead and attach it to the spider chassis, and lo and behold, by inches, by degrees, it starts to move its rather independent legs and starts to scuttle around on the floor. And you notice that you're extremely hungry right now.
I brought rations. I'm gonna pull them out.
Ah, granola bars. Wonderful, aren't they? When's the last time you had a granola bar?
Probably before the sleep.
Mm-hmm. Before the sleep, you, Jimmy, and Joyce were sitting around the table, pretty much conversing, laughing, talking, whatever have you. They're both smiling. One face, ends up in a capsule, bloody. The other of which you do not know what happens to her. These are still mysteries that you need to obtain. There's a brief spike of dread there, but there's also a very, very warm memory there. It's a memory that you're not alone. You never were alone. You may have been alone at one point, but you're the kind of girl that was able to pull herself up by the bootstraps to find the value in things that most people would consider broken, build them back up, and you've gone ahead and converted a megalomaniac dragon to serving you, to seeing beyond its own design. You've gone ahead and partially restored liberty to this one cat. You seem to be doing all right for yourself, but they're not the human companions that skirted out with you, that were launched into the skies, into the sky, into the space with you. They're wonderful, but they're not necessarily the same. Where do you go from here?
To the cat, can you lead me to the place where I can end all of this?
He goes ahead and shakes his head. Yes, I can lead you there. Why would you want to end all this?
This place can be better than it is. I want to make it better.
Sort of skirties around. I don't know what is better. All I know is what it is to be alive. Tell me. Tell me what is better. I am alive. Tell me what is better than being alive.
Living for a purpose. Having memories beyond survival. Catnip toys. Warm milk.
sort of shrugs. It doesn't quite understand all of what you're saying, but it goes through. The words are meaningless, but the emotion you convey is what matters. The words are meaningless, but the emotion matters. You start to touch upon it. And not in a telepathic way, not in a Wi-Fi way, just simply in raw emotions, emotions that any living creature could have. He goes ahead and scuttles off. This way! This way!
Follow the kitty cat, the spider cat.
Go ahead and follow the spider cat. And it's starting to lead you down into more narrow and narrow passageways. So narrow, in fact, that the dragons actually can't fit through. Do you leave it behind? Do you try something else?
It ripped up the ceiling before. Maybe it could start opening it up and digging,
You want
giving
to
itself a wide.
command the dragon to give itself enough room to follow after you.
Yeah.
Okay, it does so. And a loud crunch. It starts ripping away goddamn panel after panel after panel. Do you go ahead of the dragon or do you follow behind it?
Go ahead of it.
Behind you, there is an. Okay, you go ahead and leave the dragon. Behind you is an ever widening expanse of the tunnel. Congratulations, you're ripping the place apart. All right. You find yourself ripping into the tunnels until you get further and further down into it. You're past civilized construction. You're past the quote unquote familiar infrastructure of these tunnels. As you go deeper and deeper down, it's strange. It really is. Some aspects of these tunnels are completely organic and which bleed and shrivel and profusely spasm as the dragon goes ahead and rips it apart. Other parts of it are completely mechanical that go ahead and start to short out, that start to blast with mechanical energy as the dragon goes ahead and rips it apart. Until you're presented with this threshold, with this bulkhead that's open, and before you is a grand chamber. A grand chamber with a few different stations. You look at it. It's technology. It's very, very reminiscent to the spaceship that you were in. This is technology that you kind of understand. This is not bio. This is not biomechanical. This is simply Terra technology that you kind of understand. There are a few different consoles here and there with a gigantic view screen, actually. The view screen seems to be off. However, you sort of conjecture to yourself, if I was able just to turn on one of these terminals, I could probably access a lot more systems.
First, look at the cat. What's the name of this planet?
The cat goes ahead and looks at you, sort of scratches its ears with one of its spindly arms that goes ahead and articulates itself backwards, double jointed like, and simply says, Annie Mundi, the world of gears.
This is where I was meant to go all along. She says as she goes to one of the terminals and begins to start it up.
You begin to start it up, and the cat goes ahead and asks you, why? Why were you sent here?
I don't know. Curiosity?
Is curiosity a part of innovation?
Of course it is.
Explain.
If all you want is to live is to survive, then you have stasis. If you're curious about what if it could be better, what if it could be different, maybe not better, but just different, what if something else is happening? What if I replace this material with this material? What if I start smelting copper and tin together to create a new material? That's innovation.
Starts to, scratch his head. Explain more. He's going to go ahead and actually sit down, and he looks at you and says, explain this paradigm to me. The words, the voice is the cat's. It's inside your head, but it's also more than that. These words explain it to me. Explain the paradigm. They strike you in the core of your being, and that same traveling sickness affects you. The same traveling sickness, that kind of idea that you've been here before, that you've seen some other places, that you've had this conversation before, it starts to grip you. Explain.
Without questions, there would be nothing. Without something to build off of first, there would be nothing. The dragon was essentially nothing until I wondered what would happen if I put something else in it, put something new in it. What would happen if you take the old and instead of throwing it away, you turn it into the new, but not just turn it back into what it was, turn it into something better and greater. All it takes is the right kind of tinkering to do that.
The cat goes ahead and scratches his head again with those spindly arms, shrugs as the view screen actually flickers to life. You've been fiddling around with these terminals long enough. You're starting to initiate the startup sequence, and the view screen goes ahead and turns on. But here's the thing: it turns on, but it's all fucking static. It's all absolutely fucking nonsense. It's that snow that you would get on a television screen until eventually the view screen doesn't get clearer. It doesn't start to manifest an image. The entire screen just goes ahead and gets lifted up, physically lifted up, as something is starting to be shown, something that is essentially a giant face in the wall. This giant face in the wall starts to scrutinize you with its eyes, looks you down, and simply says, I am the voice of the gears. I maintain this world. You will identify.
I'm the force of change in this world. Your time is up. Strike an action hero pose.
It seems to mimic the emotions of lips, but there's no breath that comes out of it. This is purely a cosmetic design. It looks down at you, and it simply states, long ago, the creatures of this world proposed, designed, and created the status that you see around you, would you undo a millennia of effort? Would you do that? Would you go ahead and soulify something that became sacrosanct? And why would you do that? Are you willing? Are you willing to create the third metamorphosis? Are you the child that will create something from this world? Are you Eve? And do you have an atom?
I had an atom, but I can't find him. Is he here?
Identify your atom.
Out of character, I'm assuming that Jimmy is in basically Jericho, right?
This is your seeking. If you wish it to be so, then it is so.
All right. That is who I will show to the creature. I'll show it the memories with Jimmy, friendship, uh, basically everything remembered from humanity, from Terra, from the world that I come from, the world where things evolve without stasis in mind.
The face, well, you'll imagine that any show of emotion on this face is a tremendous effort. You imagine that whatever gears are currently spinning around in its head, whether pissions that go ahead and start to formulate this smirk that's currently giving you, it does so, and it simply says, if you are the child, then you are given a few different options. Long ago, these my fathers and my mothers created me to maintain the status of this civilization because there was an apocalypse that was forthcoming that would destroy everything should status not be maintained. But there was also a different option that the leaders of this grand planet devised. They devised a seeding program to send their population into the skies so that they could populate planets far, far off away from this now cold and dead rock. They are still here somewhere. The launch codes are still present within my system. Would you send these populations, the people that I have been assigned to protect, would you send them out into the stars, into a cold and uncaring universe?
It's a 1 in a million, billion, trillion chance, but if there's even a sliver of a chance of somewhere else where they can continue to thrive, to make things better, to continue to create, then yes, I will send them out.
Are you willing to be responsible for sending out all of these people out to face whatever end they may come to? I can tell you that currently running through the simulations, about 50% of them, the launch codes will fail. About 10% of them, they will never reach outside of the atmosphere. of that, there is 10% that will find a habitable star system. And of that, there is 5% that will meet a habitable planet. And of that, there is 10% that will actually make a landfall and start a new civilization.
Would you rather they stay here unconscious, unthinking, with no desires other than to continue their most basic bodily functions?
I do not desire anything. This was my purpose. The purpose was to wait and see, to see if anybody would come and save us. They did not. If you're willing to, the button is right there. I can only give you probabilities. I can only give you theorems about what may be. Not what actually will be, but what may be.
Once they're gone, once your purpose is no longer required, what happens to this planet?
This planet remains a memorial, a monument to this civilization.
She probably spends quite a while pacing about under the gaze of this humanoid face. But after looking to her two new companions and then looking up at the face, she approaches the button, places one hand on either side of it. There's even a sliver of a chance. It's just not human to give up. And brings one hand over, slams it on the button.
Go ahead and slam it on the button, and beside you, all the view streams go ahead and start to blare. They start to count down. T minus 3, T minus 2, T minus 1 and a trillionth of a micro, T minus a seventh of a micro. Again, over and over, it seems to be counting down. All around you, there is this energy that starts to blast up. You can see it through your goggles. All around the core of this being, there are signals that are being thrown to each and every single part of the planet, each goddamn continent that you remember being briefed on. You remember that this was a fucking planet. This was a seed planet. You're starting to flow through your brain now. This was your hope. This was Terra's fucking hope. This was Terra's hope to continue the human civilization, because there's nothing back there. There's absolutely nothing back there at all. There's nothing back there for you to go back to, and you've done it. You've actually fucking done it. This seed planet is about to start. It's about to fulfill its purpose, and there's a one chance, but you've done it. You've absolutely fucking done it. Now it's all up to whoever survives to piece it out together. As you remember how proud your parents were at your graduation, how they knew that you would make the right choices, how they knew that when it came down to it, you would continue to innovate. There's nothing back there, Terra. It's cold, it's dark, it's dank, but you've done it. You've given probably 100 million trillion different people the chance to continue existing, but you're left here with the dragon, with Spider Cat, with the face, and some of your companions. What do you do?
Start the very slow process of using the technology on this planet to rebuild my ship, make it big enough for the dragon, because I'm not leaving a fucking dragon on a planet. And go find something else to explore.
You start to make these plans. As you start to make these plans, as you start to hope for a future, as you go ahead and start to bond with these mechanical bio creatures that you've gone ahead and made friends with, as the face of this planet goes ahead and scrutinizes you with a bit of a kinder eye, a bit of a relief in its face, you find yourself drifting away, you find yourself drifting out as the consciousness that is Tomoko Lovechild goes ahead and drifts away from Agent 47B, drifts away through time and space and dimensions, and starts to travel back. This consciousness, this will, was seeking inspiration, seeking a way to heighten its will, heighten its ability to walk around, manipulate the world, bring its will to bear as it goes ahead and settles back into, well, into the body of a Asian girl within a New York apartment.
The moment that it returns to this sort of reality, this place that seems alien at this point, she jolts awake in her bed, probably hitting her head on the headboard in the process, and oh, what the fuck? Holy shit, why do I feel like I just did something awesome? Nudges the person sleeping next to her a bit.
Eh. Rolls over, continues to sleep.
Shakes her head and lays her head back down on the pillow.
All right. Anything else you wish to do? I would give you this outro for you.
After saving an entire cyberpunk dystopian static world, turning it into a living and evolving mess that knew something beyond stasis and survival, with the help of a giant mechanical dragon and a cat on the body of a spider, having saved humanity, at least in her dreams, she can't help but feel like she just did something fucking awesome. But for now, he glances at the time. 3:30 in the morning. Sort of rubs her eyes. I'll tell him in the morning. And flumps back down, snuggling up to her bedmate and passing out once more. Loud snoring comes from the room and irritates their mutual roommate.
Very well, then. I would like to thank everybody for playing. I'd like to thank everybody for watching. Until we meet again next time, this has been a scene for the Living World of Darkness Street Magic. Good night, everybody.